Hello, so I'm doing this video for if your your ascendant falls in the sign of Gemini. So if you were looking at before the videos I was making where I had the sun sign in Gemini, this is a little bit different. If you don't know where your ascendant falls, I'd recommend going to pull up your natal chart. I personally use sidereal. If you can find a generator that does sidereal charts, I use the equal house system in VELOW, VEHLOW. That's just how I like to set it up. It's my personal preference. If you find out what your ascendant sign, then go ahead and hop over to the video that I make for your ascendant sign. You can obviously still use a sun. If your sun is in Gemini, this will be slightly relevant, but I still recommend it'll be a lot more accurate for you to find your ascendant sign and then follow along on that video. And then when you're done with that, you can come back and check this one out if your sun is in Gemini. And there'll be some things to pick up on. So for starters, on the first event here, we have transit on November 11th. The sun is in Scorpio, sextile Pluto in a Capricorn. There's a sun in Scorpio with Pluto in Capricorn. This is going to be a big boost to awareness of the kind of core roots of issues having to do with your big purpose. But with ascendant in Gemini, it's hitting your 6th house and your 8th house. This may bring up a desire to redesign at home. Maybe take advantage of this influence to practice going with the flow of this kind of explorative, investigative kind of process. Follow where it leads you. With Pluto in your 8th house, death and rebirth are big themes. You might be asking questions like, who are you without all of these attachments, all of these material possessions? You may be taking care of other people's kind of little pet projects, and you're kind of wondering, like, do I really feel in alignment with that? Is this something that I can really follow through with? You might also be noticing some signs, some physical signs that your body's giving you, maybe asking you to make some kind of a diet change. Next up, we have on the 15th, Mars is in Aquarius and is sextile Uranus, which has been in Aries since November 6th. This is going to be a big boost, a big drive. Mars always has this very big physical and kind of like mental, spiritual energy boost. So you're going to be coming up with lots of crazy original ideas. With your ascendant in Gemini, this is hitting your 9th and your 11th house. So this is going to drive some really far out explorations, both physical and social, as Uranus may be asking you to go against the flow, maybe go against the kind of status quo feeling in order to help out the people around you. It seems there may be also a tendency to feel kind of extra weird or eccentric socially. But you know, the new ideas usually come when you consider how to improve upon the structures that are already there and kind of challenging how to improve those things and ask questions that haven't been asked before. So I consider it, even though you might be feeling a little weird or alien, this is going to be a good thing for you to kind of have some really original questions to ask and ways of doing things. On November 15th, we have Mars moving into the Pisces sign. Mars is more of a cardinal energy, fire energy. Pisces is a water, and it's a little bit more mutable, so it's a lot more flowy. Had difficulty more kind of following through with things. This is going to maybe have issues kind of standing up for more personal goals in this period, because you'll be really focused on kind of helping out the community, maybe in a more sacrificial, kind of balanced energy where you're looking more to help the outer world instead of the inner world. So for Ascendant and Gemini, this is in your 10th house. It's going to be having you kind of in the mood to create restrictions in areas of your life in exchange for progress in your ambitions. You may also find yourself kind of in a finicky mood, so don't really fight it. It's a good time to stay in, kind of make trimming your expenses, the things you don't really have a huge attachment to, in order to maybe save up for some new kind of business-related expense. Maybe making big plans to save up for, I don't know, like if you're dreaming of doing graphic design or video or audio or any of that kind of stuff, you're saving up for a laptop or maybe a new preamp or a new camera lens, or you know what I mean. It feels like this is a good time for you creatively to start like trimming things down and planning for the big pictures and financially in your value system, kind of saving up for that. Kind of sacrificially, I guess you could say. You're making sacrifices for the like long-term gains. So for the next process here, we have Venus going direct in Libra. It's been in Libra, but it hasn't been direct. So this is a good time here to really focus on self-awareness as a result of kind of noticing how other people are different from you. For some reason, this is more of a time of not really being like, I'm exploring myself so much as you are, funny enough, kind of bumping into other people and realizing how different they are and how different you are from them and all of that. You kind of understand yourself through the process though. But Venus is really comfortable in your 5th house. So expect a very kind of pleasurable experience. Any tensions in your long-term relationships are going to be going down as there's more of an opportunity to kind of share the good times, get pampered. And with it in Libra, it's really helping both parties kind of see the other side of the table. So I think this is a good time, definitely, for partnerships or for new relationships. The next transit here, we have Mercury going retrograde in Sagittarius. In Sagittarius, representing the kind of higher learning, wisdom, long-distance travel. I recommend, obviously, against long-distance travel during this time or starting new projects during this time that you have not thought of before. Anything that you're revisiting, obviously anything with the re in it is always a good thing. With Ascendant in Gemini, this is falling in your 7th house. So there may be kind of like forgotten or missed aspects or parts of contracts and agreements that may suddenly show up and rear their ugly heads. You might be all of a sudden noticing like some kind of a problem, and you're like, well, I thought this was not a problem, but then all of a sudden you read the fine print and you're realizing that was part of it. You'll also learn plenty of new things about your partners, but it's going to be through kind of bumping into each other, I guess you could say. It's not always an easy process, but you will be helping develop intimacy, really come to better mutual terms on things. So I think it's going to be a good thing. I think that's it for Ascendant and Gemini. Let's scoot this over, pull a couple cards, and see if there's any messages from Spirit about this week for you. Any advice? Okay, so maybe seeing, kind of piercing the truth. It's coming in here. Dragonfly, I would say, is visualization, manifestation. Maybe some psychic stuff here. Dragonflies, funny enough, they never figured out how dragonflies actually have a sense of smell because they don't have what they consider or know of in this world as a sense organ related to smelling items. But for some reason, they can smell things. It's just a weird thing. It's like an extra sense that they don't quite know where it comes from. So it's really interesting. I feel like this may be giving you feelings of like knowing things are coming, smelling things from a distance. The weasel also talks about perceiving the truth, seeing through deceptions. In the medicine card book, they talk about smoking the enemy. Basically means like kind of like knowing people's weaknesses, knowing their strengths, kind of being very discerning in that area. So for some reason that's coming up for you. Let's see if there's any more clarity coming from the Cathar. Okay, wisdom. So I see generosity, kind of like a maternal abundance, some kind of maternal comforts. I don't know. Maybe this is talking about Venus being in your 5th house, this is like a time of kind of maternal indulgence, maybe comforts. I feel like maybe this is a time for you to kind of treat yourself that way, like really take care of yourself like a mother would, I guess you could say. For Okay, so I'm just gonna read this right. In any enterprise, look for those who will support you, who share your vision, and who will cooperate with you at every level. If you're bold and courageous in your activities, and if you're involved in trade, expect your enterprise to move toward success. So I would say here there's a kind of a hand in hand. On one side, you kind of being very sensitive, being very kind of almost psychic, I guess you could say, having lots of gut feelings, intuitions. And on the other hand, being able to take care of yourself and nurture yourself, feeling empowered, or I guess you could say safe, to start some kind of a new project. Just keep in mind with Mercury in retrograde on the 16th that you want to try and move anything forward into starting and initiating part of the cycle before the 16th. Because after that, if you're coming up with new ideas, as in completely new ideas that you haven't tried to start before, it's probably not a good time. You probably want to wait until Mars leaves retrograde cycle in order to start those things off. But otherwise, I feel like this is good. Altogether, good positive signs for starting new projects, new creative designs. You're getting a boost of creativity with Venus in your 5th house. So probably going to be a pretty fun week. Almost, I guess you could say almost indulgent. Venus has a habit of being indulgent when it's not in a good aspect. Kind of almost escapist. But this seems like a very good deal for you. So I hope this helps your week. Peace.